Good morning, Renee. How are you doing today? Happy New Year.
Mahia, it's already past Happy New Year. Why are you saying Happy New Year still?
There are still a lot of people. There are still a lot of people that came back from the break. I think a lot of people, especially in Poland, a lot of people take the 6th of January is Epiphany. It's a public holiday
Hmm.
in Poland, so a lot of people take actually holidays on the 6th of January,
Hmm.
and they come back on the this Monday, I think. So I think this is my last week of saying Happy New Year, and next week I'm skiing, so I'm not gonna be
You're on
wishing
vacation.
anybody.
Yeah. Like, so this is something that's fascinating to me about I love all my European friends. I love you all. But you take an awful lot of vacation. And it's funny, right? Because you're going on a skiing vacation and you just came off Christmas holiday. So, not for nothing, but although I will tell you, I'm going to share on Epiphany. We call it Three Kings Day in Puerto Rico.
we,
And for
we,
us,
we, we have the same three
okay, so
kings. Czech Króli,
yes.
yes.
So for us, it was a big deal as well culturally. And when we moved to the US, which is now going to be like 25 years ago or more, the US doesn't do Three Kings Day, and they would come back from their Christmas holiday like in January 3rd, which I always thought was really weird. I always took the extra time. But so now I've been Americanized, I think, too much because I come back like the 3rd of January. And so for me,
Oh,
right, it's the 11th, and I'm like, okay, New Year's done, right? We've already like started. But you're right in that culturally, right, for us as well, it was a big holiday, and kind of the Americanization of Renee took that away.
so
So
tomorrow I'm gonna take this background away, and next week I'm gonna break the. I mean, next week we're not gonna talk to each other because
no,
I'm gonna be hopefully on the
skiing.
slopes
Yeah.
skiing in Italy. But then the week after I'll put my skiing background, okay, and then I can wish
Okay.
everybody happy skiing or something like that.
Okay. It's that's not a thing, but okay. It's like January is national in the US, National Hot Tea Month, right?
National
And
what?
hot tea, like drinking
Hot
tea.
tea month. Oh,
Hot tea.
okay.
So this coming Saturday, I'm having a big tea tasting and a big hot tea month celebration at the tea store. That today I'm at the tea store as well, but I'm in a different portion of the store, so you don't see the teas in the background. But anyway, the reason I bring that up, not just for self promotion, but I was talking to somebody in town and she's like, it's like a made up holiday, isn't it? I'm like, yeah, but I'm going to take advantage of every made up holiday that I can. So, yeah.
My oldest daughter Malvina, she sometimes she used to put like different holidays in our family calendar, and
Uh
there were
huh.
so many different strange holidays out there. I mean, I wouldn't believe it. The day of the button or the day of something. It's all craziness. It's all
Yeah.
craziness. Hopefully,
Yeah.
people celebrate that somewhere. I don't know.
Well, and our friends in Asia have their New Year's at the end of this month.
Yeah,
So,
the Chinese New Year.
right,
Yes, yes,
right. So, yeah. So
that's true.
I guess
That's true. So
technically you could still say Happy New Year.
yes, okay. So I'll see. Okay, I'll figure out what is the Chinese New Year because it's the
Mhm.
year of something, and I don't know. I don't remember that
Thought
for the
it was
time
the
being. But
rabbit. I think it was the rabbit. But if someone out there is paying attention and knows better than us, tell us, write in the comments and tell us which year this is going to be from a Chinese New Year standpoint.
yes. So anyway, today we're gonna talk about uh the topic for today is where am I seeing?
The
Okay,
law. Mhm.
one of the most fundamental laws that I think is out there, um,
Mhm.
something I truly and absolutely believe in, which is the law of the solid ground. And
Mm.
uh, I don't have many slides today, but the law of the solid ground And the reason I believe it's so important is it's all about trust.
Mm-hmm.
The law of the solid ground means that you can only be successful if you have the character, if you have the capabilities, and if you build using your character and capabilities, you build the trust within your organization. I and I did encourage everyone to watch the Simon Sinek video,
Mm-hmm.
because there's one particular one about I hope that people watch a few of them because they are really really good, and there's one about the Navy SEALs, about the
Yeah.
trust versus performance, Renee, right? You
Mm-hmm.
are an expert in Simon Sinek, I think.
I love Simon Sinek. I love his work. I've been a big follower of his work for a long time, and he double clicks on this topic of trust. The book is called Leaders Eat Last. And it is where he shadowed and really spent some time with the Navy SEALs and other groups, but he really highlights um, how they build trust. And remember, right, in this organization or in a military organization, you are trusting your life to another person, a person that you meet in basic training, or maybe you just meet for that one assignment if you're in special forces. So, what is more important to trust someone with that your actual physical safety in your life? And in those videos, he talks about, and by the way, I'm sure you've seen this a lot in sales. He talks a lot about how in the Navy SEALs, they really prioritize a person's character and your ability to really feel safe and trust them rather than their performance. Meaning, I don't know, the guy next to you or the girl next to you might be a better sniper or a better swimmer or a better, tactical person, but you kind of don't feel that you could trust them with your life, right? That in a moment of true crisis, they would not stand in front and take a bullet for you, or cover the minefield, so that the bomb blast doesn't kill the rest of the SEALs. I mean, he really talks about um, his time with these service members and how they really taught him the true definition of service and sacrifice for people that you know nothing about, people that you may never meet, right? If you think about the civilians that they sacrifice for. So it's a great book. It's great little links. And it really talks about trust in a completely different light.
I did like his the in one of the videos he's talking about this kind of a comparison of trust versus performance, right?
Mhm, mhm.
And performance is how well you know your job, and
Yeah,
obviously the better you know how good are you in your job, not maybe no, but how good are you in your job. And obviously everybody wants to have employees or team members that are really good at what they do. But
yeah,
on this kind of other dimension, on the X
yeah.
dimension, he's plotting the how good of a person you are.
Mhm.
And in the Navy SEALs, and I think in the business as well, that's why he's so relevant in what he's
Yeah.
talking about. In business, in your organization, in your team, you would really like to have people with a high performance, of course, and a
Mhm.
high, being a high
Sure.
quality, high integrity person. But he's talking about the fact that people would rather have someone that is maybe a not so great performance,
Mhm.
but still a very very high integrity person, high
Mhm.
trust person that can be trusted. They would sometimes, he even said that they would sometimes go with a low
Mediocre.
performer
Yeah.
and mediocre, yeah, like a low performance but
Medium.
really high on the trust side, rather
Yeah.
than the guy that is really 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 good at what he does, but
Yeah.
he's toxic, he's problematic, he's only interested in his own agenda at the end of the day. Okay. And I think
Mhm.
this is, I subscribe to this statement with my both hands.
Yeah.
Uh, I'd rather work with people I can trust.
Mhm.
I'd rather work with people that that we can build a trust together,
Mhm.
build an organization that can trust each other, than the best of the best of the best in one single or maybe a couple of different dimensions. It's a completely different experience, both as a manager but also as an employee. Okay.
Yeah, I saw this a lot in the sales organization and in sales teams, right? Where you would have a seller that was always exceeding their number, 150%, 200%, right? Um, Yet the seller was very toxic, right?
Yeah.
He or she would make their number taking deals from a partner, taking deals from a territory that didn't belong to them, and really having behavior going back on his or her word on pricing, on delivery, so of the solution, and they would be very cutthroat about how they hit their number. And that had such a corrosive and negative, um, set of consequences for the entire team. It was very demoralizing and very damaging, but it was very difficult for the sales managers, if ever, to really take that salesperson out, because they're like, because usually sales managers, as you know, but for the folks out there that may not know this, usually a sales leader gets paid on the totality of the team. And if you take your top player out, you might have a hole, right? Where there might be a year or a quarter that you're going to miss your number because that person isn't part of the team, because they exceeded the numbers so much that they could cover up people that maybe weren't making their number, right? And I think as a leader, this is a very tough question, right? As a sales leader specifically, because you are specifically measured on exceeding a number. And sadly, a lot of times I saw a lot of sales leaders prioritize that quota number at the expense of their people. And I long term, that's just not sustainable. It's not a good game to play.
That's why in the sales environment, Renee, it's so important that you start from the
Mhm.
ground up.
Mhm.
You take the person out, or coach, maybe, because I don't
Yeah.
like taking people out. Coach
Yeah.
people, coach people and develop them from the very start. As a leader, as a sales leader, as
Mhm.
any leader, you
Yeah.
need to make sure that don't you never wave, or you never stop being a trustworthy person, because
Mhm.
if you're not a good role model,
Yeah.
that's going to bite you back sooner or later. It's a kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're not
Yeah.
trustworthy. You kind of allow kind of a lack of trust to build up in the
Mhm.
organization. At a certain point
Mhm.
in time, you have no option, or it's very, very difficult to rebuild it, okay, or uh, uh, redial back, and kind of create it back. And
Mhm.
I I'm gonna bring one more. I think, yes, we have the Simon Sinek, um, and the leadership traits, but I'm gonna bring one more kind of a food for thought. It's a little
Mhm.
bit small, but um, what I think it's super important. And I remember you and I, we had this conversation one day in one of the leadership meetings that
Mhm.
we have organized in Munich. And if you
Mhm.
remember, one of those big SMB kind of
Mhm.
meetings,
Session.
and the discussion sessions,
Mhm.
where we have really put a lot of efforts to create an environment when people could freely exchange ideas. They can kind of talk about their thoughts, and they could really participate, and really influence the direction and the strategy that
Mhm.
that we wanted to put in place. And then after this event, I remember, after this event, you said it was very successful. People were very happy because there was also a lot of team building activities, some of them around the famous area in Munich, where you can go and explore a little bit of the very,
Mhm.
very good Bavarian beer. And you said after this event to me, Magic, it's super important. What we've done is super important, because we have just earned a lot of money, a lot of currency, a lot of coins with the
Mhm.
organization, with the team.
Mhm.
And we're going to need those coins because there's a very difficult year ahead of us. And we're
Mhm.
going to have a lot of kind of a currency to exchange, to shell out when we
Mhm.
will go through the difficult days.
Yeah.
And I totally agree. That I found this quote in one of the materials from John Maxwell. Trust is like a change in leaders. Focus every time you make a good leadership uh, decision, you earn more change. You kind of collect those coins of trust. You
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
you build a more integrated, more collaborative organization. People trust you. People are happy to talk and work with you.
Yeah.
But every time you kind of go through it's either a poor decision, and you don't always make good decisions, right? Nobody makes always the good decisions. Sometimes you make poor decisions. But the more trust you build and the more you invest at the very start, the more you're gonna have later on to spend with your organization, and people will forgive you basically
Mhm.
for not being always great.
Yeah.
Um,
One of the things that I think about as you say this and as you remind me of that event is in technology in general, right? In the technology industry, in a lot of industries, but in technology particularly, um, companies work in a multi-tier distribution model, right?
mhm,
Which means that they depend a lot on distributors and then resellers to expand their market reach. And this currency concept is so important in building that belief and that channel trust and community so they continue to want to choose you as their preferred partner in any kind of business venture, right? And I think one of the things I saw recently was a CRN article talking about Broadcom and how Broadcom basically all of a sudden terminated their channel programs. It was very kind of last minute. And so I say that, or I use that as an example. Did you see that article?
I've seen this article. I was extremely surprised. I was extremely
Mhm.
surprised by the way it was done. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't let me put it very clearly. I don't challenge the decision itself because the
Mhm.
decision might have a merit that I'm not
Yeah.
totally, I'm
Maybe.
not
Yeah.
I'm not aware of. The way it has been done seems like not the well thought through process,
Right.
to be
Right.
honest.
Yeah.
Because
And
because
that's
the way the
that
communication
currency.
went out is like, you're out, we are
Mhm.
kicking you out,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay?
Mhm.
And we might or might not invite you to the next program. So
Right.
for at least a couple of weeks, you are in a complete limbo.
Yeah. Mhm.
And then you kill loyalty.
Exactly. Exactly.
But it's not only this, Renee. I mean, Broadcom is not the only one. I remember
Right.
also HP doing a similar
Right.
mistake about 2 years ago,
Mhm.
when there was a lot of challenges with supply of
Yeah.
client servers. And
Mhm.
then suddenly I remember some of the decisions that were made were basically to redirect the supply to one type of customers versus the other type
Versus
of
the other.
customers. Um, uh, I think the decision was maybe not
Yeah.
extremely good, and I had to go and explain to the channel partners, and many of the channel partners have told me, look, Magic, this is it.
Yeah.
This is it.
There's no more coins.
There's no more coins. We're not
Yeah.
gonna go back and do work with you guys anymore,
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's the end of the year. You told me in September. You've always supported me, and you've told me in September, October, I'm gonna get stuff before the
Yeah.
end of the year. My
Mhm.
customer has budgeted for that. The budget is gone at the end of the year, and then midway through November, you tell me there's nothing, and
Mhm.
you're not offering any other solution.
Yeah.
So you stood me up completely. Now I have very little time to go and figure something out.
Mhm.
And and a lot of channel partners basically told me, sorry, I like you personally. I will
Mhm.
always like you personally. You're a
Yeah.
good guy, Magic.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I have
Mhm.
to go and look for something else. And don't come back to me next year, with all the fancy incentives and programs and whatever, because you just broke the trust.
Mhm.
So trust is also, I agree with you, Renee. Trust is not only important in the building your internal team.
Mhm.
If you cannot trust your business partners, it's not impossible, but it's very, very, very difficult to do business.
Yes. I work, and I'm not saying this as a commercial, if it shouldn't come across that way, but I work with a company in the US called Achieve Unite. And it's a group that actually developed an assessment called the Partner Intelligence Quotient. And it really talks about the best practices of partnering. I believe in partnering in everything I do. Look at you and I have been partnering doing this. I truly believe that combined talents make for a better solution. And when I look at what Achieve Unite and Teresa and her team have delivered for any company, not just technology, any company that relies on partnerships and alliances, it is a first in class solution. So if you're a new channel leader, or if you're a new person in an industry that depends on a multi-tier model, you definitely should follow her, look at her blog. I'll post in the comments Teresa's information and their company. But again, this is not rocket science. Look at it, Simon Sinek, all these things. And what's interesting is Teresa says this in her work, and so does Simon, right? It's the simplest things, but it's the hardest things to do. Right? Trust is something that we grow up with in our family units, in our friend unit, and it's the simplest things, yet it seems to be so difficult to be consistent. And you see so many people in the industry and in other, breaking trust over and over and over. I just got a notice from one of my medical people yesterday that there was a breach in security in their records. So some of my medical records and my medical information is exposed. They didn't have to tell me. I would have never found out, right? I would have never known unless there was some kind of I don't know, identity theft. But even though it was negative news, they at least had the courage to send me a letter, say, here, this happened on this date. They gave me all these details, and they gave me kind of a free membership to track my social security for any identity theft. And those are things that help to reinforce and build trust. So even though in this company there was a security breach by a bad actor that attacked them, they the they or they further established their credibility and trust with me by admitting to me that this happened and helping me recover from it, or protect my data and myself from it. So that's another example, right? But I think there's 1,001 examples we can provide, and it's just so fundamental.
No, you need to want, a big portion of trust is owning your mistakes, right?
Hmm. Yep.
And we spoke about this in several of our conversations, the
Mhm.
transparency, taking the responsibility. When you do something, if you admit, again, you cannot keep on admitting that you've made a mistake, because
All
you're
the
gonna
time.
run out of coins, right? Run out of
Yeah.
change.
Yeah.
But for sure, the more coins you earned, or the more change you earned at
Mhm.
the very start of the relationship, and as you were building it, through your character, through being transparent and honest and collaborative, uh, more mistakes you will be able to make without major consequences. Let me say it this way. So obviously, owning your mistakes is definitely one of the examples how you can further build trust and turn a pretty disastrous situation. I mean,
Right.
data leakage could be
Yeah.
a very difficult situation, turning that into something that is actually, going to help help to establish even closer relationship. I've seen that many times in the past, and that's one of the good examples for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes. So we spoke about the transparency, taking ownership of actions and mistakes. Uh, what else? What else? As part of the so transparency, responsibility, understanding, trust, understanding, um, empathy, awareness of the challenges. This is how you can make more coins.
Yeah.
And again, we spoke about this several times during one of the during our earlier conversations. You know, going out there and talking to people and really putting yourself in their shoes and
Mm-hmm.
trying to understand, not trying to further your agenda, but trying to further your team's agenda
Mm-hmm.
is something that is going to help you to build trust and work with people uh, and and earn those necessary coins for the for the future, right?
Well, and also being vulnerable to a certain extent, right? And again, being vulnerable. Brene Brown talks a lot about this. Being vulnerable doesn't mean that you go and you throw up all your issues on somebody, right? But you show empathy, but also you let your team in a little bit. Let them know when you're having a difficult time. Let them know. Let them help you. Simon Sinek talks a lot about this as well. Um, he talks about the military, and he went on a mission to Afghanistan with some military members. And I'm going to totally summarize this. Basically, there was a service member that died in Afghanistan, and he flew back in the plane with the fallen soldier and a few other members. And he talks about how emotional the experience was for him, and he basically fell apart and cried. And he said that for the first time he experienced that they gave him space. They basically held space for him to grieve and to be vulnerable. And he said, in the business world, someone will say, oh, it's okay, don't worry about it, or try to dismiss you and brush it off. Whereas his experience with the military was, they said, go on, and they held space for him to go through his process and feel safe going through his process. So I think that that's another important thing, is we need to feel safe, provide a safe space, but also feel safe sharing some of our own pain or challenges, because that helps to build the trust, and it helps other people help you, which makes them feel like you've trusted them, you've extended that trust. So I think those are some very, very important tenets.
Transparency, responsibility, understanding. What you said was supportiveness, and then tenacity. So
Hmm.
uh, again, we some of those laws are interrelated somehow, or
Yeah,
kind of a
yeah,
they are not dependent on each other. We said that in one of the in our
right,
discussions, but one doesn't depend on each other, but they're connected, interconnected
right.
somehow. And you know, you need to do it every day. I mean,
Yeah.
there has to be you have to be determined, overcoming challenges, and putting the trust above some
Hmm.
of the challenges, like you said about the sales organization. When
Hmm.
when you have someone that is maybe breaking the trust, but breaking also the numbers,
Yeah,
at the end of the day, it's not gonna you're not gonna survive
yeah,
that as an
yeah,
organization.
yeah.
We have about 6 people, 7 people constantly, kind of here. And I don't know if they're watching us and they
Mhm.
have some questions or some comments on this. Who's out there? Anybody that wants to introduce themselves and say hello? I don't know.
It's
Okay.
o- it's okay if they're shy. A quick reminder: Magic and I are always trying to make these sessions better. So let us know if you want us to change something, whether it's the number of slides, whether it's the length of time, whether it's the time of the day, and we'll try to do our best to accommodate and make sure that we are adding value to your day, because that's really at the end of the day why we do this. We want to add value to all of you.
Absolutely. I'm just watching it. There is also, I'm waiting for the questions and for the hellos, because I know that there is a delay of about,
Yeah.
I think, 10 seconds, really. So when
Yes.
we say
Mhm.
hello, and then we wait for 10 seconds, you hear hello. So if you still want to say something to us or ask questions, go ahead. If not, and you're watching the replay, and I know, there were like last video, Renee, last video, I think there were like 700 people that have seen it, which is really was big surprise. I think people after the new year, they were still on vacation and they really wanted to watch us and say hello, and some of them did.
Oh, good.
Actually, so if you're watching this replay, you have questions or whatever, remember, you can always either ask them under the post, or you can send them directly to us, or then myself.
Mhm.
We're happy to engage in a conversation. And yeah, we'll continue, I think, next week. What is next week?
No, next
Next
week
week I'm
we're
skiing.
skiing.
I'm skiing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're not
He's on
gonna have
vacation again. I'm just saying.
I'm on vacation again. But
Again.
that's the last one before Easter, Rena, I promise. The next one is
When
Easter.
when again he'll be on vacation.
Maybe only for a couple of days.
Okay.
It is true. It is true. We calculated once cultural differences. We calculated once which country has the biggest number of vacation, okay, at HP. So it was not HPE, it was HP. So
Mhm.
guess which country?
France.
Yes. How many days?
At 40, maybe? I don't know.
Come on. All the If you count, if when
Uh-huh.
I counted all the public holidays,
Mhm.
all the days, like the flexible time off, right?
Mhm.
Flexible time off, public holidays, and uh, back then, it's a couple of years ago now, but
Uh-huh.
that back then, uh, French law required that you only work 35 hours a week. You
Yes, I
cannot
recall
work
that.
more than 35 hours a week.
Yeah.
And because HP, before the split, was requiring employees to be 40 hours
Yeah.
a week in the, so everybody would save like a 5 hours every week on some kind of a time account, and it
Mhm.
would accumulate to about 11 days a year.
Oh my gosh.
So between 11 days a year of this time account, standard legally required holidays, and the public holidays, we counted 52 days off in a year.
Wow. Well, I would tell you, as much as I remember critiquing this when I came across the number of holidays, and of course the summer, where I think in August nobody in Europe works. Um, I really have come to see that probably the ones that have it wrong are the Americans, or the ones that don't have as much built in. Because I do think, especially now with so much that we have coming our way, time for really recharge is really important. And as I've gotten older, I've gotten wiser, or I've just gotten older and more tired, and I need more days. But certainly it's important that people take recharge. So sorry that we got into the vacations. Thank you, David, for your comment. I love Ogmandino's book, The Greatest Salesman. That is a classic. Every salesperson should read it. Regardless of your religious denomination, it's got a great message, and I think a lot to learn. And it goes back to, again, that trust, and that being foundational, not just in personal relationships, but in work relationships. Okay.
Thanks, Davey. Thank you for the comment, and thanks everybody else for watching. I'm gonna start packing.
Yeah, we're off
I'm
next
gonna
week.
send, I'm gonna
Yeah.
send some pictures, Renee.
Thank you, Matt.
So we'll see each other in 2 weeks, and then we'll post you, all of you, when what kind of next topics we're gonna discuss. If there are any other
You
topics
have
that
more
you would like
loss.
us to cover,
Yeah.
let us know. Thank you
Yes.
so much. Speak to you
Take care,
later.
everyone.
Bye.